Hey, hi, bonjour, welcome everyone. So we gather from all over the place. We have a team of two from San Francisco, and at least two of us are from here from Ontario, and I see a few more showing up. Gilles near Paris, in Paris, France, in Montreal, Maryland. Julie, just a few blocks away. So welcome in this virtual space, in this reality of this virtual space. And so we'll practice meditation together, and then we'll try to look a little bit at the teachings and see what's in there for us. And so, as many of you know, maybe all of you, the practice is extremely simple. It's mostly a practice of two things come to mind: a practice of renunciation, of letting go of the complexity and the layers of storytelling, and the layers of wants that veil our immediate experience, and the layers of opinions and preferences. And so we have the chance for a few moments to practice. That's what it is. It's a practice to let go of demands, expectation, wants, evaluations, embellishment, and just meet reality, maybe through the senses, directly, just as it is, freed from wanting it to be otherwise. That's already a big liberation right there. Allowing things to be as they are, crooked as they are, maybe in your body or your heart, or in the world we live in these days. So giving permission for the world to be completely imperfect as it is, at least for a few moments, just to see if we can be okay with this, if we can make space for this and gain energy from this pause, from stopping the fight, from stopping trying to get further along or get something else, just for a moment. And in that, maybe we'll be re-energized in some ways, and we'll be able to continue with more creativity or tenderness or joy, space, calm, groundedness. So a practice of renunciation. So we're freed from the adds-on, from adding on to things. And also, practice of generosity, both. We let go and we give. We give our full loving, maybe, attention to what's there, not trying to fix or produce anything. It's very, very simple, not easy, but simple. Shall we try it a little bit? Welcome from you from Percé and from NDG and Bourgogne and all over the show. We're all in this together, really. This reality. So your eyes could be closed or open as you want. And you find a posture, find a posture that is comfortable for you, that allows you to be both awake to what's happening, sensitive, engaged in a way with what's happening, in contact with reality, and relaxed, relaxed. And sometimes, taking a few deeper in breaths can be really helpful in order to feel the body, and also because on the out breath, it's such a good place to let go. We might not even know of what we're letting go. Old attitudes. So big in breaths. And on the out breath, because maybe you have the possibility at home, you could even play with releasing some sounds. Ah, ah, ah. All this to invite the attention to dive in the body if you want to, if it feels safe. For our intelligence to infuse this living body, breathing body. Invite the intelligence of the senses, sensitivity to be there. It's going to be also maybe where intuition is going to, make itself known. Not telling things what they are or should be, but being touched by things, by light, through the eyelids if they're closed. Touched by the day, the light of the day, wherever you are in your apartment house. Touched by the temperature of the room, allowing coldness or coolness to be there if it is, or warmth, if that's the experience for you. Allowing light to do what it does, allowing temperature to fully be how it is. Allowing sounds to be those that are present. Sounds from the streets or the roommates or neighbors or the silence that is present. Not demanding anything, but just lovingly, in a friendly way, letting things be revealed, the touch of the ground, the aliveness of the body, breathing. This animal body alive. Alive with aches, alive with tingling, alive with pressure or expansion. Alive or experienced as a space or earth. And cognition happening, sounds are heard, sensations are felt, this flow, this river of cognition, of consciousness. Just keeps experiencing the world. Phenomena keeps being revealed. Nothing we can do about it. That's how it is to be a human being. It's to encounter sensations and sounds and thoughts and emotions. Could think of our consciousness or intelligence as a vast space, and in there, everything, all the whole shebang of sensations and breaths and coolness or warmth or ache and moods, all this alive in that vast field of sensitivity. We allow life to be known, to happen in that field of knowing. And yes, sometimes thoughts cross by, opinions or descriptions or fabulations or anticipations. It's just another kind of event that happens in the vast field of knowing. Sensations are there, breath is there, maybe moods, emotions, sometimes words, heard, seen, or said. Allowing this field to be dynamic with knowing just keeps being touched, revealing, experiencing events and phenomena. That vast field, dynamic with events, dynamic with the intelligence, alive, experiencing what's there. It might be not much, it might be intense, it might be difficult, it might be lovely. Just allowing. And if there's a sense of not knowing where to pay attention or how to stay present, just make the breath, the movements of the breath be known, or the soundscape be experienced, most as an anchor or home base, the field of sounds or silences, or the breathing body. And whatever happens, see if it's possible to not make it me, mine, or about me. Just events happening, sensations happening, breath happening, sounds or silence. And see if there can be some release here of ownership, of appropriation or identification. If what's there can be allowed to be there, sounds and breath and intelligence, all natural features of the universe, of life, things that happen. There might be some lightness of heart that can be gained here, not making things personal. Just sensations being known, emotions passing through, knowing happening. Warmth being warm, coldness being cold, time passing by, releasing all the different phenomena from making them about moi, me, mine. The breath breathing itself, thoughts thinking themselves, sorrow, experiencing sorrow, joy, being joyful, attention, being attentive. The world being the world, and the inner world being the inner world, allowing all of it to do their thing, inwardly, outwardly, things unfolding, being experienced. And if the eyes are closed, see if practice could continue for a couple of minutes here with eyes open. And if eyes are open, see if you can. It's possible to notice that seeing is doing the seeing, that hearing is doing the hearing. They're happening naturally. And the body is doing its body thing of breathing, of pressing against the floor, chair, cushion, sofa, bed. So the body doing its thing naturally, the eyes doing their things naturally, very spontaneously, we could say, naturally, being touched by colors and light. And very naturally, the world being recognized, organized. Sounds perceived as sounds, objects, perceived as what they are, lamp or wallpaper or Pascal or whatever you have in front of you. So seeing happens naturally, and perception happens very naturally. Breathing natural. What if we don't make it about I see, I hear, I breathe? What if we were to play with this a little bit and free life? Allow life to see or hear or breathe or do what it does. Thank you. So thoughts do what they do naturally, and so this thought was just here at the end here coming to mind, really like almost coming from here, like this very clearly appearing. Nothing I can do; it's just appear. The image, or I don't know. I don't know what exactly the words and image. I was seeing Gil Fransdal, hearing him, or having memories or impressions from the past. Again, I remember him one time saying, "It's not you who's going to be free; it's everything else." And so that's a little bit the kind of practice we were doing here, or a way that we were exploring practice. Can we allow the ears to hear? They do their thing very well on their own, and one day they won't anymore. And can we allow what is already happening anyway, that seeing happens by itself? There's not the eye doing the seeing. If you have the eyes, if they're healthy, if there is light, if there is an object, if the conditions are gathered together, seeing will happen. Allow in seeing, let there be only seeing. This is the Buddha speaking to Bahia and others. I think I read somebody was offering the same kind of words to somebody else at another time, but to Bahia he was saying, Bahia, in the seeing, let only the seeing be. In the hearing, let only hearing happen. If you're not here, you're not there, you're not in between, you don't make an I, a self story out of this, then the end of suffering, right there. Just this is the end of suffering. Wow, what an exploration. Definitely meditation is something spiritual. We can't say it's not right now. Or mindfulness, it's for psychological well-being, to be well inside oneself, but it's also meditation, exploration of how we have constructed the world, and how maybe we can discover that it's just a construction, that we might have used the blocks to create a kind of a form, a shape that we believe in, but the blocks themselves maybe are not exactly what we perceive. I don't know if you can follow me here. So there's hearing happening, and we took this block of absolute reality, of moments of hearing, and we make it me, moi. I'm in it, hearing. It's mine, my hearing, and in the practice, we go and explore this, and we become really attentive. We pay attention. We go under the preconceived ideas. We go really far. We go as far as saying, "Hey, could that be the whole story? Could that be that exact story? Or maybe there's something else. Maybe something is a little bit made up, useful, maybe, but not totally real." And so as we start to slow down and pay attention, suddenly we notice that hearing happens by itself. It's conditional. When the elements are there, the sounds, the ears, the aliveness of the body, sound happens, hearing happens. Not so personal. Very natural. It's not you who's going to be free, it's everything else that's going to be freed from the tendency to go for ownership, identification, appropriation. That's known in Buddhist thoughts to be erroneous, a mistaken view, very painful. And we get caught in these cages, self-made, not to blame ourselves, it's very natural that that it would happen like this. But here we have the chance to actually go and deconstruct the cage a little bit. And, we can always go back to I, mine, about me. It's going to be useful. And if we cherish it, we can go right back to it. But it's good to bring some, maybe some looseness in that, some freedom, some space in there. And that's a lot what meditation is to sit there and allow or recognize that thoughts land there by themselves and emotions, yeah. I like that a lot because, as many of you know, some of you might know, I come from the world of theater. And in theater, what makes it the magic of theater is that there's conventions. I don't know if the wording is good in English, but in the theater, we all agree together on things. We say, hey, let's make this true. It's not a stage. It's really the inside of a house, and it's happening at another time. And these two beings are, I don't know, sisters. Okay? And everybody's like, yeah, that's exciting. Okay, let's pretend this. And then we'll feel a lot of things, emotions and suspense, and, and we might get caught in the convention, as we do with Netflix maybe these days. We watch the movie and we kind of forget, we want to forget that there's actually lighting and a director and makeup artists and all kinds of people, and they all agree, okay, now let's pretend you two are angry at each other and that you don't want to give this person that thing that they really want, and they'll do anything to get it. Let's pretend. And so we're watching Netflix and we're like, oh my God, she's not doing it, he's not doing it. We get caught in the conventions, in the creations of our own kind of minds, so the theater is beautiful like this, and the movies are very powerful like this. What about our lives? So our lives, maybe there's some similarities that we can make between the performing arts and the way we live our life. And so in a way, yeah, that's what's happening. We sit here and we create kind of conventions, we said, hey, this is you hearing, this is you thinking, this is you emoting. And we, from a long time ago, we learned to kind of buy into that vision. So much so that we forgotten that it's made up of different things, like the movie in Netflix, or the theater. It's made of props, of lighting, and so here in meditation practice, we go back and we deconstruct the dream a little bit, and it's beautiful. Maybe it's scary, but it's also a really juicy investigation, exploration. How do we do this? We actually just sit there, we pay attention, and in a way we let things reveal themselves for what they truly are, And as we sit here, we start to notice that thoughts fly by themselves. Emotions erupt, or moods kind of, come in as, in some ways, and we pay attention and we start to see how these things are conditional. They happen, hearing depends on a sound appearing, and sight on light, and we start to see that these things are not maybe exactly ours. That the experience of coldness, for example, that I could really momentarily define myself by. I'm so cold, it's cold here, or warm. If you're somewhere in the south or in a warm house, I could easily make it mine. But as I pay attention, I'll see it arise and disappear. And I'll feel like I'm remaining here, but the experience of cold has passed. The experience of hearing has passed. The experience of thinking, that particular emotion has passed. And in time, I would say maybe a couple of decades first for practice. Then we start to notice something in the pattern. Hey, there's something here. I was taking everything personal, but now that I've been watching closely for 20 years, something's starting to appear. And we start to see, oh my God, I'm fooling myself. Or maybe we read the words of the Buddha. And in there, the Buddha said, hey, if something doesn't stay, appears because of condition and disappears, is it really you or yours? And you're like, no, if something, you can't control or keep it, or, that's not yours. It's just something passing. Right. Oh, why did I make it totally about me? Or why did I have that single kind of vision of that's happening to moi, it's about moi? What I'm talking about is subtle stuff, really worth talking about, really worth questioning, worth taking a lot of time to, do nothing else, dedicate time to actually go and explore this. It's not just an intellectual kind of a trip. It's related to suffering and the end of suffering. And maybe you get to experience this in meditation sometimes. Maybe you don't kind of conceptualize it this way, but maybe it's more felt, vipassana, felt deeply. It's an experience of suddenly, it's not the layer of moi has fallen away. You might not even recognize it, maybe, but just something suddenly feels more easeful, more, there's less clinging, it's less contracted. Maybe it appears a little bit more expansive, a little bit more free, a little bit more cool or spacious or okay. And it might just be that grip of ownership that has released itself for a few moments. Sometimes actually it's the opposite that happens. We actually notice it when the grips of identification comes. I think maybe a bunch of you, many of you, some of you have been on retreats, back in the days when there were silent retreats in physical form, where we would gather. It might come again, touch wood. One typical experience that people will have that you might remember is in these retreats we do a walking meditation, often walking rather slowly, maybe back and forth, just a few steps in one direction, a few steps in the other direction, just to continue to develop that quality awareness, stabilizing it and refining the attention that is not always veiled by comments and superficial attention, but so that we can have intimacy with phenomena, events, experiences. And so we walk back and forth like this. It's very simple, stepping, coldness, warm, sun, a breeze. There's different little experiences that happen as we walk, step. And one typical experience that you might have had, or maybe you will have, or can recognize, is you're just walking, stepping, turning to walk back on your little path. And as you turn, suddenly you see somebody in the distance, maybe in the room that's entering the room, or if you're doing this outside, maybe if somebody's turning the corner and appearing in the spot where you are. And suddenly you go from there was just walking and hearing sounds of birds. And suddenly when you turn and you see the person, suddenly I lands, the I making. This is me. How do I look? This person just saw me walking. Was I walking, gracefully, or mindfully, and suddenly there's the I making that formation, that creation. It was not there just before. Before there was just naturally the body walking back and forth, and suddenly, how do I look? How am I perceived? The I arises, and so does stress. And it might not be during the walking meditation for you, but you might have experienced this maybe in a meeting at work, in a Zoom meeting at work, or anywhere else, where suddenly you become self-conscious. There's a creation of the experience into a self, a conceptualizing, an understanding, an interpretation, a perception, a creation. It's suddenly from the building blocks of just these sensations is created the story, sudden, momentary story of I look like a fool. And that's stressful. It's a contracted state of mind. And so in practice, maybe we get to experience it in formal practice here as we sit, or in our daily life, we can become aware, curious about the contractions around the I and the release of it. And so it's not like we should be only in release and not in clinging, identification, appropriation, defining ourselves by situations or things felt. It's not that we should avoid this at all costs. In the Buddhist practice, as I understand it, we're invited to go and research, study, investigate when it happens, when it doesn't happen, how it feels, if we can recognize this. And so today, it could be applicable, maybe in your day. See if when suddenly something becomes about me, how the other is perceiving me, or what I want to acquire. In the experience of desire, for example, the I seems to be born out of desire. So my life is all good. Suddenly I see something and I want it. And so the wanting arises and the I is formed. Suddenly there's an I that exists and the I wants this. It's not easy stuff to explore, but I think, if you follow the Buddhist teachings, our liberation turns a lot around how we make things personal. And we've heard, don't make it personal, don't take this personally, it's not about you, or etc. So it's not just that we're going to decide not to take things personal. The deconstructing of that way that we create suffering for ourselves needs a little bit more work. It needs mindfulness, close attention, being very curious about life and how it's represented in the mind, or how the story is told in the mind. And so we sit here and we just become aware of my breath. Maybe that's how it appears at first. Me breathing, my breath, the breath in my body. And we just stay tuned in, stay attentive. And at some point, maybe another vision slowly emerges. Suddenly it's felt or perceived just slightly different. The body is breathing. The body is breathing. And this is just an event. And there can be less complexity around it. Maybe later it'll happen later around an emotion. Oh, there's fear here. Instead of I'm afraid, I'm so afraid. I need to not be afraid. I need to, And as we learn to sit and pay attention, suddenly maybe the view changes very slightly. There's anxiety or fear, or joy is present. And suddenly we're mostly aware that it's an event. that it arises and passes. It's not so much seen through the kind of the lens of I am afraid, I am joyful, but it's more like an event. And slowly the vision changes. Oh, there's the event of joy or calm or benevolence or envy or confusion or agitation. And these become events. And returning to Gil's words, it's not you who's going to be free. It's freed. It's everything else. So suddenly, the ease will be freed to arise, be felt, be known, and disappear, pass, or expand. And the dis-ease suddenly will arise. It won't be so much about me. It might be more about, the universal aspect of that experience. Oh, dis-ease, confusion, ache happens in nature, happens to human beings. And suddenly the rapport changes. If it's about me, it's terrible. If it happens, if it's natural, then maybe it can be allowed. And slowly we'll do this with every kind of aspects of our life. Maybe we'll think, yeah, but I'm the one knowing all this, the sensations, the breath, the emotions. And more we'll have the chance to put time into our practice, put the hours in, and refine the attention. Suddenly the knowing itself will detach from identification. Maybe not so much I know, I feel breath and thoughts and emotions, but knowing happens. Very beautiful. There's a lot of lightness and space, or in that kind of view, wise view of what's happening. Oh, knowing happens. Thoughts are known. Emotions are known. Humor, joy, sorrow is known. Ache, pressure, lightness, ephemeral event. So released from identification, appropriation, wrongful ownership. Events are released, and even the knowing itself maybe can slowly be released from that weight was conceptualized, that weight was presented to the brain, mind. And suddenly another vision can arise. Oh, knowing is also an ephemeral event. A sound is known, and the knowing disappear as the sound disappear. The knowing of the sounds disappear with the sound. And now there's this, experience of knowing just now. There's this experience of knowing just now, and this experience, maybe we'll notice that later there'll be another experience of knowing. That particular experience of knowing of now will be gone, past, non-existent, and there will be another experience of knowing. I don't know what, probably knowing of washing hands. And that moment of knowing of washing hands will also vanish, and suddenly they'll be walking, putting on shoes. There'll be another event. The event will be momentarily known. The knowing will pass with the event. And in this way, I think we get acquainted with death. It's beautiful. Oh, it was happening all along. Things were arising and passing all along. Oh my God. I hadn't noticed. I was so busy trying to get rid of, control, But now that I pay attention, or now that there is a paying attention, life and death is there all the time, everywhere, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, very natural. I had made it more dramatic in my kind of solid, essential I, it's all happening to moi kind of view. It was very stressful. But now that I'm not so much me, but more a series of events, I'm okay with events happening and not happening anymore. That makes sense to me. Events happen. So the event called Daryl, Helena, Etienne, stream yoga meditation, Julie, Alexa, Pascal. These are, we use conventions like in the theater or in Netflix. We say, hey, let's call this Alexa. Everything that, looks like this, we'll call it Alexa. And everything that around this, but it's just a series of events, Maybe it's good to bring back that view so that we can, play in the play, uh, participate in the play, but knowing also that it's a play. There's a play. That character with that name was just a kind of a made-up thing, made up of other things for a little while, I don't know if I'm far out in my own little world here. I don't think so. I think there's a lineage before of people who have talked about these kinds of things. I'm just repeating a bit. Maybe they did it better. That would be one difference. But I'm certainly trying to keep some exploration alive here. So we try to sit a little bit and explore this a little further along. Why? Because there's joy right there. So much compassion, tenderness in there. Possible space, equanimity, mental health, energy, it's all in there. That wise vision, wise view, wise understanding of how reality is truly. And after we can play, I love going to see plays and watching series on TV, but I'm not stuck in them. That's good. And you don't have to be either. That's great. Okay, let's try this a little bit. And the eyes can be closed or open. The breath breathes itself. And what I call maybe my hands, maybe it's pretty easy to recognize that it's just a field of tingling, of sensations. Not so much mine, we know that. It's not so much mine, it's an event. Hands resting, feeling heavy or light or tingling. Or clearly this is not just about a certain me here. There's another vision possible. Just sensations alive. And similarly, in what I call my feet, conventionally called my feet, the field of whatever it is there, touch, tingling, warmth, coolness, something very natural, nature. Let's try in the heart area what we find there that we maybe tend to identify more with. Sensations in that field of the heart, chest. Sensations there. Sometimes contraction, sometimes expansion, lightness or heaviness or nothing. And that knowing, let's go for it. Let's question that for a moment. That knowing that I call me, moi, I, or the witness, or the observer. You might be able to notice that it just does its thing in its own way. It just keeps knowing. Nothing personal. Sometimes intelligence, sometimes it's quick and there, has clarity. Sometimes it's confused, it's slow, it's not quick at all. It's confused, it's foggy. Either one or the other might be that personal. Notice how it is right now, inside there. Allowing hearing to happen on its own. Allowing moods to happen on their own. At least for a moment, if it's possible, if we want, releasing the body from wrongful appropriation, ownership, allowing the body to be nature as it is, following its own laws. Allowing time to pass as it does, its own way, sometimes quickly, sometimes very slowly, sometimes coming to still. Allowing sounds to happen and be known. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. And as you know, on this YouTube channel here, there's many offerings all week, so many offerings in French or in English by many skilled teachers, And you can support them as you watch them, usually lower at the bottom part of the screen. I think somewhere there's links to support the organization and to support the teachers, whatever feels right to you. If it feels like it should stay alive, please make sure it does. The teacher or the organization, True North in this case here. And also, if you go on True North, you'll see we're offering online retreats now. I'll be, for myself, offering this coming weekend a online retreat in French. And you can come, even if you don't have the whole weekend, come for, the first day, come for most of it, but not all of it if you can. And if you want to, I think we're also planning mid-June, somewhere like this, to organize an English retreat online in English with True North. So I'll be teaching that one mid-June, I think. The information will come out soon. So you're very welcome to all of these different offerings. This is us, the Sangha. There's nobody else. Okay? Thank you so much. Bye-bye.